It has been almost 20 years since the Xbox 360 came out. That's a long time. And with that, I thought it would be a nice video idea to go over some of the more overlooked games from one of the most influential consoles to have ever come out. And just because it says forgotten doesn't mean that not a single person will remember. Some of the games you might even remember being quite popular, but in recent years, the more overlooked from other games that have come out, like Halo Reach or, Call of Duty Black Ops, or I guess Modern Warfare as well. Sort of the more Xbox 360 arcade games, the type ones you'd find on Xbox Live Gold, and you'd think, I'll get that, it's free. And you play it. You don't realise how much you're going to love the game until, well, it's just a bit too late. So, without further ado, let's start with the very first game I've got here. The first game that I've got here is Joe Danger. The original Joe Danger is like a fever dream for me. The concept is you play an old-fashioned stunt motorcyclist, and you have to either play the pre-made courses or create your own courses. And you normally go against friends or stunt doubles to see if you can beat them. It's a pretty simple game, but most games here are. It was the Xbox 360 arcade, and I'm just gonna go into things that I liked about the game's aesthetics and overall vibes, and some classic memories just for the fun of it. So for the graphics of Joe Danger, I really like the sort of old school graphics that sort of make it look like almost like a cartoon, and it's a bit goofy, but I like that in a game. I think I kind of miss games that would do that. I don't know why. At least recently, a lot of games have dropped that style for more dark and dingy stuff. Which I mean, has been building up for years and years now, but it sort of feels like this type of game dies a lot, and you don't really get to see as many more cartoony, stylized games like this. I think the closest thing I would think of is maybe like a game as stylized as Cuphead, or I hate to say it, but like Fortnite. But I feel like, especially with Fortnite, it kind of lacks that charm that Joe Danger had. Maybe less so Cuphead. I mean, it's not mentioned there was loads of cartoonish elements in the game itself. Like, one of the animations would be, if you hit the side of a shark tank, you just crush your nuts and then fall into the tank and start again. Or if you died a certain way, you just, literally just stop and then fall with just absolute cartoon magic. And there's something about that just has this inexplainable charm that was sort of lost as more and more Joe Danger games came out. But I don't really want to rain on the parade because this is a happy video, not about falling off. I think overall the gameplay of this game is one of the most fun. It doesn't have replayability, but it was very, very fun. And the initial charm of it, and just going crazy and making your own stages, whatever you want it to be, even if it's pretty much impossible. It's kind of a beauty in that. I think one of my most fond childhood memories playing this game would have been, it was obviously on a summer night, as they always are, having a sleepover at my friends during the holidays, and the room was fucking sweltering hot. It was boiling, and I don't know why we didn't ask to turn the heating down, so we're all just sort of there shirtless and like absolutely sweating and going a bit delirious. And we literally almost passed out laughing playing against each other because there was three of us, and one of the people we were playing with was so bad at the game, he just couldn't wrap his head around how the jetpack worked or anything, so he just was constantly dying, and he would just go ballistic constantly. And it was one of the, I think It's just nostalgia talking here, but it was one of the funniest moments that I could think of playing a game. Happy Wars. This game was fucking fire. Anyone who's played this game would know it's one of the first games that have sort of come out and utilized it being free to get as many people who played as possible, and then sort of thriving on microtransactions. But you didn't need them because Happy Wars thrived in chaos. You got teams of like 15 people to fight against each other, so it was like 30 in a match. And there was like three different classes, which were mage, knight, and clerics. If you play the cleric, you're a pussy. There's no excuses. If you played either the other two, then I respect you. The aim of the game was to break into the other team's castle and dismantle their totem, which was a big statue that you had to hold RB next to destroy. But you could also build totems in the main battlefield to spawn closer to the enemy. But that could go either way depending on whoever was there, so it was a bit of a more of a gamble. Aesthetically, this game is beautiful. I remember in particular there's a water stage that just looked amazing. It had that like old 360 water aesthetic. I think it's like fruit. Oh god, I should have written this down. Frugatero or something. Probably butchered that. I'll correct it on screen if I have. And it just shows that like how much of this game bursts with life in every single frame that you play. The character animation was smooth. The colours were just all amazing and jumped up at you. The character models too were just great. Like it sort of had this weird low poly texture to it, but all of the faces and colours would almost look like they were drawn on. So it didn't appeal low poly, but the character models were really like had big ridges on, and nothing seemed properly smooth except for the drawings and the colours. And there was loads of different types of armors and weapons and customizing abilities. So you never played against the same character twice. And the people you always play against are so vastly different with different abilities. There was so much replayability, and thanks to this, the game was just phenomenal. The only thing that you know for certain is that you're gonna have fun in all the chaos. You never really know what's gonna happen. I think that element of keeping you on your toes will always make the game just constantly playable. I think my fondest memory of this game, because I'm doing this as a pattern now, because I think it would be fun, would be when I had a really high fever one day. So I was off school and I was playing on my Xbox 360 because nobody was in the house but me and I was just a bit sick and out of it. And I was playing on the map where they have a huge red mud balloon, blood moon. And even though I was completely ill and a bit delirious, I popped off and got my first and only time being at the top of the leaderboard, and it was one of the proudest moments of my entire life, which really says a lot about what I've achieved. The next section is Trials HD. Another one that I think it's a bit on the higher brow, same with Happy Wars. Trials was a game that you needed to be the best at. The initial game is funny, and it's a very simple concept. You just sort of on a motorbike doing courses. The real beauty of this game is in the skills mode. The leaderboard will drive you to play the same game mode for fucking hours, just in hopes of beating your friends, and then you'll finally do it and feel amazing. The best feeling in the world. Then you'll come back months later and your friends have doubled the previous score and you have to try again for hours. Like Sisyphus, you'll never really be at the top, but you'll always try to be. I think out of all the games, this one's the least vibrant, and it's sort of dark and grungy, but in the best way because that really fits the overall vibe this game's going for. It doesn't want to be colourful and jumping out. You are in an underground motorcycle rally, jumping off a fucking cliff to see if you can break as many bones as possible in your body, or riding in circles in the giant metal ball like the Simpsons movie. And I think another thing that helps this aesthetic is the soundtrack. I remember it being quite dark and punk, and you'll have some of the music in the background, I'd imagine. I think my most fond memory, if you couldn't have guessed, was beating my older brother's high score in the bone breaking game. I hung it over his head for ages, but eventually, maybe even like a year later, he went back to the game and beat my old score into the ground. And I went back to trials recently, and I still can't beat that score. But still, it was so many nice memories formed from it, and it was so fun. And it sort of would be hard to make a game like this again, I feel like. Oh, Doritos Crash Course. Another one that this is an odd one. I feel like I'm putting this game on the forgotten list is because it just phased out of everyone's minds once the Xbox One came out. Until COVID. And then everyone I know just started playing it again. This game is kind of what you get on the box. It's a Dorito sponsored obstacle course game where you play as your old Xbox 360 avatar, something that I miss very dearly. This was another leaderboard rush with all of your friends where you have to be the best, no matter what it takes, no matter how many times you have to do the same course. You need to memorize it like nothing else. I think this has to be the least aesthetically pleasing, because it is just sort of an avatar running in colourful backgrounds, but it doesn't need to be the most beautiful out of all the ones mentioned. And that being said, that doesn't mean the game isn't pleasing to look at. I'm super nostalgic for the bright stages with all of the just different coloured padding depending on where you are in the world. The sides in the background for other games or DLC that you'll probably never get, but it's fun to see. And additionally, it's always nice to play with your avatar because many people, myself included, would spend actual money on gamer points, like get the physical boxes with like the weird green foam in. That's common. Those used to smell really nice. But off topic, off topic. Sorry. They'd spend actual money on gamer points and buy the accessories to put on your guy, and then instead of just having people look at it in the menus, you can actually play as them in this game, which I think was a nice touch. And to be honest, I think this game is more carried by the fun factor because it's almost unmatched. I think out of every game that I'm about to mention, this is in the running for the most fun consistently. I mean, the level design is so different. You feel like you're never playing the same map anytime you play. I think my most fond memory of this game is I had friends over and we set up a whiteboard and marked on all of the maps in the game, all the way from the UK to Europe to Asia to America. Took up the whole day. They came in the morning, stayed overnight, and we only just finished. And we all put £5 in, and whoever got the best scores overall won all of the money we put in, which was only £20. And I lost horrendously. I think I lost by probably about 24 minutes. The amount of fun and competition was priceless, and honestly, there's nothing really like it. And I think Doritos Crash Course is just, even though it left our minds for a while, I'm glad it's oddly back on the forefront. And I do feel a bit weird putting in forgotten games, but it was forgotten until recently, which I'm glad. The final game on this list, because I was going to do another one, but I did not play it enough. And this one is a bit of an odd one in that regard as well, but I feel like I played enough of it to give a say. This game is so fun. It's one of the most fun platforms I've ever played. It reminds me of the whole early 2000s Newgrounds aesthetic type of stick fights. I think it's just sad that I played this one the least because it's very hard to find, especially now. But even back then, it was hard to find. And a lot of Xbox 360 arcade games were like that, especially the more niche ones. But I managed to play it properly at a friend's house who had it, and we didn't get it completed, but we got to get quite far through, and I remember it very fondly. The game is just so fun. There's no way of putting it besides that. The character moves so smoothly, and it's just the levels are designed so well, and there's so much care and thought put in to keep you on your toes, and not a single level feels the same. And honestly, it makes me wish I was able to play all of them because I knew every single level would be different. The aesthetic of this game is so vibrant. Even something as simple as a stick person with orange pants is still gorgeous to look at. And the little things of how fluent his movement is, the body language of a literal stick, the villain with his beard and fat body, just again made a unique design out of a actual, well, he's less of a stick person, he's a rotund person made of sticks. And I think the unique design of that just fits the overall vibe of the game. And the hand-drawn backgrounds just all jump out, and honestly, I think this is a great way of summarising that early internet sort of quirky era vibes. And I think you can get this game on Google Play, which I'm not going to do. I'm going to find some form of emulator, but this is a game that I want to find and I want to play properly. And yeah, that is about it. I thought I'd do this video because it's been on my mind for a while, but it's not like I've got a little script for it. I've ad-libbed most of it, but I thought it would just be fun to do something a bit different like this. But it's not like a proper video essay like the things I'm working on in the background. And honestly, if you've made it this far in the video, I guess just thank you for watching. It's weird that I'm doing an outro like this, but I guess when you've got a video like this, you've sort of got to do a conclusion and say thank you. So if you've made this far, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next slot video.